right, we are live, and we are back. Welcome to another episode of the Overdue Bills podcast, and truly, we're excited, exuberant, whatever words you want to use. We're in the playoffs, right? We
Yeah.
definitely we made it to the playoffs. Definitely some chicanery going on with that. And we have a special guest with us today. One who was with us really from the beginning when we started this podcast and kind of reaching out to other podcasts to kind of get them on for guests. This wonderful individual was there for us every single time we reached out. He was there for us, and now we're finally meeting in the playoffs. So I'll introduce our wonderful guest, Striker from Steelers Nation. How you doing today, man?
Preach. Always a blessing to be with you and our Overdue Bills fans on your show. Love talking football with our brother to the north. And as you know, if you send me swag, I'm wearing it. I'm not rooting for him this week, but I will wear your swag. And when the Steelers are eliminated from the playoffs, Bills are always my playoff team, man. No, like watching Josh Allen and your team rolls, like watching Ben Roethlisberger and those teams of old roll. So very easy to root for the Bills.
For sure. We definitely appreciate that. He's definitely been a great sport throughout, you know what I mean, all of our matchups. And I guess this one is the coup de grace, right? This is
Indeed, finally hitting in the playoffs together.
Right. We had, I believe, the first game of the season a couple years back, which didn't turn out so well for the Bills.
Right. But I mean,
you know,
I think you guys are 3-1 against us with Josh Allen as your starting quarterback. So that's a big advantage. And then that one starting game for the first game of the season.
right.
Yeah, Steelers got lucky in that one, but it's Josh Allen's. I mean, he's a franchise quarterback. When he's at his full potential, he is a tough guy to beat, even when he's making mistakes, as we've seen last week.
Right. Absolutely. And
Yep.
I guess this game is going to show a lot of that. We'll see. But before we do that, before we get into, I know everybody wants to get into the show. Before we do that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I ask everybody to please go to overduebillspod.com, overduebillspod.com. Also on our socials, Overdue Bills Pod everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We want you to go over there. We posted a little flash sale for the playoffs. We wanted everybody in Overdue Bills gear. And also we're making some new designs. So we kind of, are trying to get rid of the old merch and go into the new one.
I like this merch. You got to send me something new then if you want me to wear something new.
Okay. We'll definitely send you something. But it's going fast. It's hot off the press. I mean, we've been getting calls. I mean, I won't say calls, but DMs from everybody trying to get the merch in time for the playoff game. So please hit us up. Listen, we're really down. Like, we sent out our inventory. Like, we're really down to a minimum of a few items, but we still have some things. So please hit us up right now. Go to our socials and just hit us up right now, because we can definitely get it to you before the game Sunday.
Awesome.
And also, yeah, I know we're setting up some, you can come pick it up, or we can come give it. We're trying. We love Bills Mafia, so we're trying to get it out before the game. Well, if you live in Buffalo, of course, but or in the area. But with that being said, shout out to everybody down. We ask you to like, share, rate, and review. Definitely appreciate all of you watching even now. So please do that. But with that being said, I think we can start the show, Striker.
Perfect.
All right.
We're live right now, Preach?
We are live.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Shoot me the link here in the private chat so I can tweet it out to my people.
Okay, just 1 second. You know what? Matt, do me a quick favor. Matt is watching right now.
Oh, thanks, Matt.
I'm sure he's watching Roman, but
and Matt, you can just text it directly to me too if that's easier.
Yeah, Matt, text Striker Matt the link so he can tweet it out. All right.
Cool.
With that being said, let's start. Quick question of the day. Show is still the same. I wanted to ask this. I wanted to, y'all know how I like trivia, right? You know how I like trivia when it comes to playoff, So I wanted to ask Striker this, because we've done this before, but we've never been in the playoffs. So my question to you, the first trivia question is, did he send it to you?
Yeah, I just got it.
All right, bang. Thank you, Matt. How many times have the Bills and the Steelers met in the playoffs? How many times have the Bills and the Steelers met?
Goodness, if I had to guess, I remember losing to them in the 90s when the Steelers were the 1 seed in the 4-year exchange.
Okay.
When they made the Super Bowl 4 straight years. It was one of the years the Steelers were the 1 seed. And I can't remember I think they lost in divisional round. Or no, I think that had to be AFC Championship game, because at that moment we had an era of Bill Cowher making AFC Championship games at home, and he lost 4 of them at home.
Wow.
It was like a lot of people were calling for his head before he won that Super Bowl in 05.
Oh, wow.
Saying, "Oh, he can get close, but he can't win it."
Can't do it. Right.
So yeah, that's the that was always the issue with him, moving on that respect. So I know it's definitely in the 90s we saw you guys and lost to you. Maybe even twice we might have lost you in the 90s. Seeing you guys this time, I'm trying to remember when we've ever like faced you in the playoffs during a run and won or lost. I know we faced New England a lot of times. We faced the Jets a few times. We beat the Jets in AFC Championship game to make a Super Bowl in 2010. So at least those 3 times. And I have to imagine, if I'm guessing, going back through the 70s, I know we had some great teams. I know we were meeting when you guys had O.J. Simpson and the great rushing attack back then. So if I had to guess, my guess would be probably 6 times we have met in the playoffs. Including this one.
Interesting. Okay. So I'll say 3 too many.
Oh, yeah. Well, then I had the three that I called were the ones that I knew. That's great.
Obviously, I had to look it up because
that's great.
I know. So it was 3, 1 in the 70s. 19. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll say 1974.
1 in the 90s.
1 in the 90s, 93, and actually in 96 as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So then this is our 4th, technically.
Right, this is the 4th time. So awesome. a follow-up question is, what do you think the record is in the playoffs as far as Bills versus Steelers?
Oh, we won in the 70s. We lost both times in the 90s.
Wrong.
Oh, actually, we won one in the 90s.
Yes.
Okay,
it was 96. It was in 96.
Okay. That was the blowout win then.
Right. Yep. It was.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was post the 4 Super Bowl run.
Exactly. Like it was that was at the tail end, and we lost.
The Steelers made the Super Bowl the previous year, and then the second year they were trying to get back.
Right. So the first in 74, it was 32-14 Steelers. 93, it was 24-3 Buffalo, and in 96, it was 40-21 Steelers. All right, so we appreciate that. Definitely some fun trivia. I don't know if anybody else out there in the comments got that. Obviously, I had to look it up because in 96, I was 4 years old. So I
was watching those games. 96, my gosh, I was in college.
Wow.
Cut my teeth in college. I know I wear my age well, preach, but
no, you actually look really good. You actually, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Right.
But I guess what we have to do now, before we kind of, I guess, get into the meat and the potatoes of the game, we do have to talk about the weather. We do have to talk about the weather because obviously we know weather can impact the game. And it was a false report out there. I know on Bill's Twitter and just on Twitter alone, it was a tweet that went out that said that the game could possibly be going to Cleveland because of the weather. That tweet was proven to be false. Multiple sources said false on that. Not to say that it's not that it's impossible, but for now, it's definitely going to be cold. It's definitely going to be cold, and it's possible to get some lake effect snow. Obviously, we don't know, multiple days away, but it is Buffalo. It is Orchard Park, and we probably will see some snowflakes on the ground. But I don't think that. Well, I ask you, Striker, do you think that the weather, if it is some snow, obviously not, a blizzard out there. I mean, that changes. If it's not like, 60-mile-per-hour winds, if it's just regular snow out there and the temperature is around 18 degrees, which is cold, it'll definitely be probably really cold out there. Do you think that makes a huge impact on both teams? Because we're cold weather teams.
We are cold weather teams, and we're built for it. We're built with a good defense. Right. We're both built with a very a great running game now. So just so you know, preach, since week 12 this year, this to week 12 to week 18, Steelers lead the league in rushing attempts with 231 rushing attempts. Guess who's number 2?
Who?
The Bills with 220.
Wow.
These two teams know how to win on the ground. They know how to keep the clock running. They know how to keep possession, and that gets ultra important once you start hitting these weather games, that get so cold that you're worried about fumbling the football. You're worried about, and also we're talking about some winds that might be occurring there at that time too. I know Allen has an incredibly strong arm, but I think it's a fool's errand to really try to open up a passing attack in this type of wind. I tried to see, I remember a game with Roethlisberger trying to throw it 30 times in a game they lost in Cleveland, like 6-3 or something, just because he couldn't throw the ball in the wind. So the wind is such a factor. When the wind gets over 30 mile an hour, it is 25 to 30. It's difficult to complete intermediate to deep passes. And I know Rudolph has a deep arm too, and is the best deep ball quarterback. But the way these two teams are going to win is running the football and not turning the ball over. And we're built for it. That's what these Northern teams are built for. And that's why they do so well in the playoffs and winning championships in general.
Absolutely. And I see in the comments, thank you everybody in the comments. They say 50-mile-per-hour winds. Hopefully it doesn't. That's high. I mean, that's and it's crazy because we had a game like that against the Patriots where the wind was crazy. And the Patriots threw the ball one time. They literally threw the ball one time.
Smart.
So I mean, it definitely can affect it. I hope it doesn't get to that point. But if it does, I mean, that's Orchard Park Buffalo football, right? You know what I mean? Like in the playoffs. I mean, that's our quote unquote home field advantage. But that remains to be seen. And like Stryker, you said, it is Steelers football.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? I could just imagine seeing Tomlin out there cold, maybe ski mask, maybe not, with a big jacket on, but just like it's just what we're meant for, what we're meant to do. And it's going to be an amazing game. It's going to be an amazing game. Definitely glad that he's on here. And I do want to get to some great things. So I do want to go to the game overview. And it's funny because we kind of talked about this off camera. And I want everybody in the comments to be real and honest, right? I do want us to be real and honest about this. So I'll ask you, Stryker, because obviously going into the last week of the season, the playoff seeding wasn't finished yet, right? And it was a lot of things going on. Like if the Bills would have lost to the Miami Dolphins, obviously barring the Jacksonville losing, we would have been at 7. We would have played the Dolphins again in Miami. And the Steelers would have been at 6, and you would have played the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to ask you, would you have rather Kansas City than Buffalo?
Yes.
Okay.
100% yes. The way the Kansas City is playing right now, with as cold as the game's going to be in Kansas City this week, and with as bad as their defense is this year. Right. And also, you see now what happens with teams when they have to start paying their quarterbacks. If you're not a good drafting team, you start losing a lot of talent. Over the last couple of years, they've lost Hill, they've lost Juju Smith-Schuster. They're trying to win with younger guys that aren't as good as the guys they had in the past and were easily getting to Super Bowls and winning. They're still a great team. Don't get me wrong. They still got the ability to win a Super Bowl. But I don't fear Kansas City this year the way I have since Pat Mahomes has been a playoff quarterback for them.
That's interesting. It's funny you said that, because as far as on us, and I said this on our previous show on Monday, I said I would have rather played Miami. We own Miami. And it was generally we own Miami, and I would prefer the weather. I know people talk about the home field advantage, but I would prefer the weather in Miami, and I think we could beat Miami, especially they're banged up. I think we would have came in healthy, so on and so forth. But
I think they're the worst team in the playoffs currently. I honestly agree. They backed into the playoffs. They have not been a threat to win a game for 4 weeks, really. And it's like the Philadelphia Eagles this year. The Philadelphia Eagles were unbeatable the first 12 weeks of the season. Absolutely. Nobody thought that they were going to back into the playoffs, which they did. I heard the backup. I'm all the way to the other side of the state, closer to Pittsburgh, but I could hear as they're making their way into the playoffs. And man, I wouldn't be afraid of the Eagles if I'm in the NFC. Definitely should not be afraid of the Miami Dolphins. And Miami Dolphins, who they end up getting, is it Houston this week?
Kansas City.
Kansas City should make it to the next round easily. Like, this is a great matchup for Kansas City.
It's definitely going to be something to see, because I mean, Tua, he just can't play in that weather. Like, I mean, they're going to try to run the ball, but obviously cold, wind, and snow is the great equalizer with speed. So, I mean, I'm definitely interested to see that. It's a lot of narratives going through. But I do want to key in on our show. I know that's what everybody came to hear, everybody came to see. So I want to talk about advantages and disadvantages, right?
Yeah.
And I want to start with the people at the top, right? Mike Tomlin and Sean
Right.
McDermott.
Right.
And, for I would say, I want to say similar careers because obviously Tomlin has been there for a very, very, very long time.
Right.
Has
Now, with Bill Belichick leaving,
he's
not
still
being the coach anymore for New England, he is the longest tenured coach in the
wow.
NFL.
Wow, that is it's
Right.
crazy. It's crazy. I mean,
Right.
people used to talk about Marvin Lewis. It's crazy that Marvin Lewis had a job that long. But anyways,
Right.
I do want to ask you, do you think, because I talked about Tomlin on our show. Everybody know Tomlin is a live dog, right? That's the
Right.
jargon that they throw around. He's a live dog, especially on the road. Odds stacked
Right.
up against him. He's a
Right.
rah coach. That's his stick. So, do you think that in this scenario, right? I believe last time I looked at the spread, it was a 10-point spread, right?
Right.
I mean, it's almost downright like we should crush you.
You
Do
should.
you think that the advantage as far as coaching gets concerned leans more towards the Steelers?
Last time we talked on the show, I told you how bad our team was, and I expected to lose tremendously, and we did.
Yeah, you did.
This time, preach. I'm sorry, but look out. Like,
Woo!
I've been watching this team for a while. I know the betting it gets kind of thrown. A 10-point spread is probably the smartest bet I've ever seen for a Pittsburgh Steeler game in my life, especially weather dependent.
Right.
This defense is for real.
Okay.
We'll talk about it a little later. Even losing TJ Watt, potential defensive player of the year, we're in a much better position than we were in years past to be without him for a game. We're also getting back two of our safeties, one being Minkah Fitzpatrick, all-world safety, which you've seen both at the Dolphins and now on the Steelers. Right. And now we've also gotten Damontae KZ back from suspension, right? 100% healthy. 100% ready to knock blocks off of people again. And I love Damontae KZ. A lot of Steeler fans are very polarized on the guy. I freaking love guys that knock blocks off of people because it gets people thinking twice about coming over the middle, getting hit, maybe short arming a little bit. Love those type of bangers in the middle of the field, even though the game's starting to take that out currently. But at least for the way this matchup is set, I would have been happy going up against any other team in the playoffs, any team except for the Bills, because the Bills have been the hottest team in the AFC for the past 5 weeks. Yeah. Steelers have been the hottest team in the AFC for the past 3 weeks. Right. Past 3 weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers have found a way to get Najee Harris to not only run hard and go over 100 yards consistently for the last 3 games, but to also face plant people while he's doing it. The guy is playing like an absolute house. He is truck sticking everybody in the league right now. And look out if you get him in one-on-one, because he's not going to shy down. He's going to push into you. He's going to gain yardage. And also look out when we get into 3 tight end sets, man, because past 2 weeks in 3 tight end sets, we've been 19 for 138, 7.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. And that's nearly a 74% win rate. That's like Josh Allen on goal line. It's money. Like that kind of stuff we got to look out for in this game. And I'm also very, very confident in the way our defense matches up. We're going to have our rookie Joey Porter going on Diggs. I know your other guy, your second guy's banged up a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be playing. I see at least on the injury wise, it looks like he's ticked down a notch. So I don't even know if he's going to play. At least it's not looking like too good if you go from limited to did not practice. That's not looking good for your gameplay, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow. We're not worried about that right now. We can decide that tomorrow. But that's what's going to happen with Diggs. He's going to have Joey Porter in his hip pocket, who is a very handsy, physical, long, tall cornerback. You're not going to out-jump this guy. But you can out-route run this guy. You can get him in trouble in some pass interference conditions. But even with a 10-point lead, preach, bad weather shrinks the score. Absolutely. And I am way more confident with Mason Rudolph being the only quarterback this season who's been able to run this offense efficiently to the point where when he became the starter, we had 2 straight games of 30-point games where we hadn't had a 30-point game and won a game since 2016. So this is like a long time Steelers have had a good quarterback, and that's because he can hit the intermediate to long game, which opens up our running game. And it's why we don't have 9, 10 people in the box anymore. We'll have the 7 and 8 people in the box like normal. But if they throw a 9th down there, we're doing a pump fake. We're doing a play action, and you got to look out for it. And it's and he's able to complete those. We finally got another quarterback that can finally complete a 3rd and long. Like Kenny Pickett wasn't completing anything over a 3rd and 7. Same thing with Trubisky.
Terrible, yeah.
But we can convert a 3rd and 10. We can convert a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15. I'm not as worried. Now, if it's windy, 3rd and 10's the limit. And that's probably for both teams. But I can tell you, I can bet my reputation as a Steeler podcaster, this game's going to be a hell of a lot closer than 10 points. And if the Steelers do pull off the upside, I'm interested to ask you, because when Steelers lose in the playoffs, they always blame Tomlin. They never blame anybody else. Even though they're snapping the ball over Ben Roethlisberger's head, it's Tomlin's fault. Even though Ben Roethlisberger's throwing 3 interceptions in the first half, it's Tomlin's fault. Do they end up blaming your head coach, or do they blame Josh Allen for a loss in those types of situations?
Because of how the season went and the turmoil that the team has faced, we're going to blame Sean McDermott, no doubt. I mean, we have to, because he took the onus on him. He fired Leslie Frazier, our defensive coordinator, right? And granted, the defense has been amazing, even with the injuries, even with losing Matt Milano, even with losing Tre'Davious White, like Rasul Douglas, and just like Bimford, and even like our linebacker core with Tyrell Dodson. It's just like he's been amazing, but at the same time, he blamed our offensive coordinator. I mean, we got rid of him just like I got rid of Matt Canada. I mean,
did you get rid of yours during the season as well?
We got rid of him like 5 games in. Like,
wow, I wish we got rid of Canada 5 games in. It took us like 12 games to get rid of the guy, 10 games or something. It was like I was hoping to do it right before the freaking bye, but no, we had to figure out for a couple more weeks that he was horrible.
Exactly. So, and granted, like Ken Dorsey wasn't horrible, but the offense just wasn't clicking for whatever reason. But my point is that Sean McDermott, he made all these moves. So now it's on you. Like, let's just see what the team is going to do. So definitely, if we lose this game, it would be a travesty. We would look at him. But it's funny you said that, because I kind of liken the Ken Dorsey and the Matt Canada. We both fired our offensive coordinators, and now we're going into a playoff game, you know, with obviously quote unquote new people, even though Joe Brady, he was an offensive coordinator prior. But I do want to ask you, as far as you talked about your defense, and for us, the turning point of our season has been the running game. Right. And James Cook has been amazing. Yeah. And we got Leonard Fournette. I think he still may have, something left in the tank.
Dude,
we'll see.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can look at him. So I want to know, as far as your run defense, is it still quote unquote Steelers stout, so to speak? You know what I mean? Like, what are we looking at in terms of that?
Well, at least there's been, I guess there's been more of a mystique than an actuality with the Steelers' run defense over the past few years. Really, Steelers haven't been able to stop the run since Ryan Shazier got paralyzed. We did very well with Bush for the first year and a half when he was in there. And then now we've just been trying to figure out ways of getting new people to stop the bleeding on run defense. This year, we did a phenomenal job going out and get Quan Alexander, Landon Roberts, and them to make this interior stout. The problem is all of our interior or all of our inside linebackers all got hurt. So now we're in a situation, though. Landon Roberts is back. He's playing with a pectoral injury, and he had a massive game last game. Wow. Guy is coming, and he's firing hard. Robinson, who was our rookie last year, is playing very well, 7th-round draft pick. We picked up Miles Jack back up off of the couch. He's been coming off of the roster. He led us in tackles 2 games ago. So we're starting to get more stout, but our defensive line specifically has been getting stronger and stronger. We missed Cameron Hayward for the first half of the season. Now he's back. Larry Ogunjobi on the other side has been a godsend. And now we got a rookie in the middle and a legitimate nose tackle. We haven't had a legitimate nose tackle since we lost. Oh gosh, I forget the guy's name. Damn it. We had a great nose tackle and we lost him to the Eagles about 3-4 years ago. And now he's playing, I think, with the Rams. But yeah. Gravedigger. Okay. Crap. Gravedigger's his nickname. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. But fantastic nose tackle. But now our rookie, Keanu Bennett doing a phenomenal job at the nose, getting pressures also in the passing game. So for a rookie, he was the first one thrown into a starting job as a rookie this season. We drafted for depth. Now we got a rookie there. We got a rookie over at a quarterback, but at least against the running game, we're playing a little bit better. And I'm happy to have KZ back to help because KZ is a banger in running game. And also there's a guy by the name of Eric Rowe that nobody knows about. Guy was on the couch. We brought him in as a practice squad player. Guy led us in tackles last week as a safety, strong safety. And he's making splash plays. He did a forced fumble at the end of that game that turned that game, so we won it. Had an interception the game prior. Guy is a game player, and I'm expecting the Steelers to figure out a way to get him in either as a third safety or as a hybrid inside linebacker on certain downs to possibly take away that strength that you have as the tight end hitting that small seam in the running game because your running game is so dominant as well.
Absolutely. It's funny you talk about that. And even here and talking about your defense, I do want to talk about X factors, right? I do want to talk about X factors. Obviously, we understand the weather is the major X factor because if it is crazy, you can't do anything. But one of the things when I watch the Steelers, and I watched them probably maybe intently, probably like 4 games this season. And one of the big things that I've seen is that the only time you make explosive plays, generally, if it's not, Jalen Warren just popping one, generally it's, George Pickens. It's the play action, him doing a slant, and he takes it for 97 yards. Or it's the George Pickens on the sideline, and he catches, a crazy pass, tiptoe, you know what I mean? Something like that. Like he's been amazing. But I will say this, as far as X factors that I'm looking at, even though Douglas he got hurt, last game, he said that he could have went in, even though Dane Jackson came in after him. But Douglas has been amazing at the cornerback position. We got him during the trade deadline. We got him the trade deadline because we needed somebody for Trey White. And he's been a godsend. He's been a turnover machine, and he's been locked down. Like we can put him on a corner. He's been locked down. And that's a matchup that I'm looking forward to as far as now, granted, the weather is crazy, but like that. Not allowing Pickens to get big plays and to shadow him and to be on him. I mean, granted, Benford has been amazing too. I've seen him against Tyreek Hill, fastest receiver in the league, played amazing. So as far as Steeler fans, something to look for is that matchup. I think that it's going to be to die for. You know what I'm saying? And so I do want to ask you, as far as the pass catchers, and I know we're going to get to X factor, and we have a big X factor we're going to get to, but I do want you to stay on the offense for just 1 second.
Sure.
Is Pat Freiermuth, obviously he was injured. Are we going to, you think we're going to see a lot of him this game as far as them utilizing him? I haven't really seen that much.
The Steelers have been very tactical the way they've utilized Pat Freiermuth as an offensive threat. I believe it was the first game that we had when he returned from injury and when we just fired Canada. It was the first game afterward. I think we were playing the Cincinnati Bengals. We targeted him 11 times in that game, and he had over 100 yards, got a touchdown. He was the guy. That was the matchup. We're like, we're going Pat Freiermuth. They're not going to hit the seam. But then again, if you were looking at the Steelers passing chart for the first 9 weeks of the season, it looked like a horseshoe. We were only completing things within 5 yards or up the sideline. That was it. We weren't you didn't even need a safety, an inside linebacker strong. Didn't matter. We weren't throwing there. We weren't even attempting passes there. Now we are. But now it's rolled back a bit. The thing about our tight ends, though, are the way we utilize them in the blocking game. Washington, our rookie, Mount Washington, we call him. He's a giant. He's enormous. Out of I believe he's out of Georgia, and we still haven't utilized him as a red zone target yet. But in preseason, we just lob passes up to him. You either have to pass interfere him or trip him or something because he's so much bigger than any other person that's defending him. We haven't done it yet this year, but that could happen. Connor Hayward, who is Cam Hayward, our all-pro defensive lineman. It's his brother.
Wow.
He's our third. He's our third tight end. He's the playmaker. He's the one out there going out, making catches all over the place, down the seam. He's fast, runs great routes, can shimmy shake. But Pat Fryermuth is the all-around solid guy. If you need that play on third down, you got to convert that third and short. He's the guy to do it. So that's the way the Steelers utilize them. But right now they're utilizing him as a blocking tandem. And like I mentioned earlier, when we're running a 1-3 with one running back and three tight ends, we have been absolutely unstoppable the last 2 weeks. And from what you mentioned too, just so you know, taking away George Pickens was exactly what the Baltimore Ravens did last week. George Pickens, not only did he not get a catch, he didn't get a target.
Wow.
And we went with Deontay Johnson, who is always open. The guy runs the best routes in the league. He's one of those short area quickness guys where he's going to find leverage either with his feet or with you can't bump the guy off the line of scrimmage. And I said that when they drafted him. He was the best best against the press of any receiver I've ever seen going to the Steelers, and that included Antonio Brown, just coming out of college, coming off the press. Antonio Brown was unblockable in the league once he started getting his feet under him. But Deontay Johnson is another tough guy, and he had that big catch and run off of that slant and go, where he just cut it right between. It was almost like a short post slant-ish play where he ended up catching the ball on a dime between two defenders, about 9-10 yards down the field, and just took it to the house. So you don't have to just worry about George Pickens' offense, much like your offense. We don't have to just worry about Diggs, because you guys have other people that can catch that ball and take it to the house too, and we know that.
No, right, and you know, it remains to be. I can't wait to see Dalton Kincaid in the playoffs. Our first round pick. You know, I mean, because he's definitely been coming on strong, but I definitely can't wait. But I'm interested to see, because going in, obviously, if TJ Watt is there, generally what teams like to do with tight ends is chip. You know what I mean? Chip that defender. But now that he's not there, and I guess we're going to talk about the big X factor, you know what I mean? The elephant in the room. And I'll let you have the floor, because I talked about this on the show before. Obviously, Highsmith and other players, like, I've seen other people brush the passer, you know what I mean, from the Steelers defensive line. It's not like it's just TJ Watt, but the on and off with TJ Watt playing and not playing, the numbers are glaring. So I'll let you have the floor and just tell us kind of how are Steelers Nations feeling about TJ Watt not playing in this game.
First thing, I need to say hi to Zach Franciscus. Love you, Zach. Miss you, Zach. Honey Project. Follow their music online. Way to have you back there. But anytime TJ Watt has normally went down, like, we really didn't have anybody behind him at all in years. Like, we haven't had a good third outside linebacker since Alex Highsmith, who is starting opposite of TJ Watt, just got a new contract this year, was backing up TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree ended up going down to Tennessee Titans. That's it. We've had a lot of trash. I think there was a stat that came out since TJ Watt has been missing games. Alex Kozora, I've been mentioning a couple of his stats tonight, but one of them was stating, like, all of these different inside linebackers that we've had replacing TJ Watt, including for half of the season, outside of this season, it was the previous year when he was out for half of a year, not with these guys, amounted for only 3 sacks. Now we have Golden, and we have this other young kid who's my X factor, which I really wanted to talk about you with tonight, Preach. Guy by the name of Nick Herbig. And he is another Wisconsin Badger, which is where TJ Watt came from. His tape of how fast he got off the line of scrimmage in college, I was like, how is this kid available in the 4th round? It looked like first round tape when I was watching him. I'm like, and the Steelers got lucky because they dropped back in the 2nd round, the second pick in the 2nd round, to pick up an extra 4th, or maybe it was the 3rd round. Drop back in the 3rd round to pick up an extra 4th round draft pick, because we lost a 4th round draft pick, moving up to get Jones, our right tackle, who's drafted to be a left tackle. He will be a left tackle, when we made that trade with New England. And we lost our 4th rounder. We traded back to pick up, and Nick Herbig is the guy we pick up. This guy has been making so many plays in so few snaps this season. I think he already has 3 sacks. He's got a forced fumble. The guy is just an absolute playmaker, and looks like TJ Watt. When you guys going to see him lining up on TJ Watt's side, he's gonna blast off that line of scrimmage. And if you're only putting one guy on him, he's getting pressure. And that's the thing that you got to realize. You got to double team Nick Herbig, and you wouldn't think to. Oh, he's a rookie. Doesn't know what he's doing. Not TJ Watt, another Wisconsin Badger, another big, burly white dude playing with strength and quickness above their means, and just absolute technique hounds. Got more than one pass move. He's doing it. Golden's doing it. Those two alone, like I said, in the years prior, only 3 sacks. These two alone this year, Golden and Herbig, 7 sacks in absence for TJ Watt. So look out with those two guys, with Golden, with Herbig. But Herbig's a name you're probably going to see be called, because he's been making splash plays in a very limited amount of snaps this year. I got one for offense too, but we can talk about that later.
Okay. I like that. I definitely, let me put that back up so you can read it. I like that.
Zach and I are on the same wavelength with that one.
I definitely like that. I will say, for us on the defensive side, it's kind of tough because you do hear these names, but Teron Johnson, and the reason why I say Teron Johnson is because with your running game, Najee Harris, 3,000 yards, coming in hot. Jaylen Warren, like Teron Johnson has been amazing in the run game. Like he's been amazing. Really, 40% of pretty much all defensive snaps. He's a linebacker. You know what I mean? He's an outside linebacker, and he's been playing that role at a high level. And I would mention also to Terrell Bernard, because he's been the unsung hero of our team. Right when Matt Milano went down, everybody was like, we don't know what's going on. Like this,
and that's big. Matt Milano's a great player,
amazing player. But Terrell Bernard kind of came out of nowhere. Like it was just like, honestly, most of Bills Mafia was like, oh God, we need to get somebody like immediately. But he's been a godsend. Like he's a downhill player. He can get caught on blocks, but he definitely will shed them at the last minute and kind of get the tackle. Like he's that type of player.
Right.
I think you're going to hear his name. I don't think it's going to be like because we had, mind you, a couple of years ago, and even maybe last year, 2 years ago, we had a problem with explosive run plays. Like it seemed like our defense will always give up explosive run plays. We don't do that anymore. Even against Miami with the fast run pace, they had a couple probably 18-yard gains, but for the most part, we kind of shut it down. So those are the two names that I would like to, throw out there. But as far as offensively, can you give me some X factors?
Definitely. And it's a guy that you just mentioned. It's a guy that, our boy Matt's been mentioning here too in the chat online. It's the backup to Najee Harris. It is Jaylen Warren. And Jaylen Warren now, I believe, let me look up his stats here on offense. He's one of the higher targeted players on offense out of the backfield, which is a big difference. Yeah, he's our 3rd highest targeted player out on the team at all. Like he's 3rd in that. He's got what, 61 receptions on the season. That's actually number 2. George Pickens has 63. Jaylen Warren has 61. Deontay Johnson, who's our X receiver, usually gets all the looks. He missed a couple games though this year, as 51. So he's our 2nd highest targeted player on the team. He's a player that normally, like, everybody worries about Najee Harris, his strength, his power, what he's going to do first, second down. And then this guy named Warren comes on the field, who's not only great at picking up the blitz if he has to on defense, but if he gets out on the edge, or if he trickles out and gets the ball, he's going to make plays. And that guy is faster than Jaylen Warren. And I don't know if you guys watched that the Football in the Morning show on NFL Network where they do their angry runs. 2 weeks ago, they did their angry runs of the week when we played against Seattle. And all 4 of their angry runs, 2 of them were Najee Harris, 2 of them were Jaylen Warren. And Jaylen Warren is starting to learn from Najee Harris how to use that stiff arm, how to put people on the ground. He has more of a propensity to be able to fumble the football, though. Najee never fumbles. Najee is he's money on that rock. He keeps it high and tight. I mean, he had a bobble last week to start the game. It was bad weather. It happened. But he didn't lose it. He recovered, but didn't get a good game. Jaylen Warren, though, is that guy that does have that extra speed potential. You're worried about a long run. It's not going to be on Najee Harris. Najee Harris is a grinder. He might hit a 30-yarder. That'd be his max. But Jaylen Warren can take it to the house. I think he's already hit a 74, 75-yarder this year. I think that was straight out of the half against the Seattle. And like this is a guy that can catch a defense napping if they're not expecting a run and they give the ball to Jalen Warren.
So I do want to let me just can I say this? There was a comment in there about Ed Oliver, and I want to say this right, and I was definitely critical of Ed Oliver some years back.
Right. We were talking about that directly. Yeah,
he's been amazing, man.
He has. He's really coming on now, isn't he?
Amazing, and with Daquan Jones coming back into the fold, like he helps. You know what I mean in that interior. And like you're definitely gonna hear Ed Oliver's name as far as pressure is concerned, and even in the run defense, his run defense has gotten substantially better. But as far as offensively, I do want to talk about. I talked about Dalton Kincaid. He's gonna be amazing, like for sure. But the biggest X factor for me, and I guess this is low hanging fruit, but it is Josh Allen, because I think it's gonna be one of those games. Because
he already only has 15 touchdowns,
right?
Right? This is the game he's built for.
and I've been saying this all season, and I've been screaming at our offensive coordinators, especially Ken Dorsey before he got fired. Mm-hmm. Like I get protecting our franchise quarterback. I'm with that. Run him in. like just run him right until you can't run him anymore. Like especially like this is do or die territory, and we definitely need that. So I like me. That's for sure the X factor. But I do want to ask this question to you, and even Steelers fans out there. And we're going to get into some score predictions, and we're not going to make this necessarily a long show. But I do want to ask you this: as far as just the Buffalo Bills team. Scared is a strong word, but who are you most scared of, or who are you definitely looking at intently? In just 1 second, I have something being delivered, so you can answer that, Striker.
Like who am I scared of as a team, or who am I scared of as a player on Buffalo Bills?
As a player on Buffalo Bills team,
Josh Allen. Come on, guy's a playmaker. Guy is. If you want to go ahead and run, and I'll talk about this while you pick up what that delivery is. Josh Allen is. I've watched Ben Roethlisberger for his entire career. Josh Allen is the closest quarterback I have ever seen to a young Ben Roethlisberger, where he was as dangerous running the football as well as passing the football, as well as creating plays downfield with his threat to run, and then still hitting that ball downfield without having to actually run the football. Like, he is a smart quarterback. He's a guy, a backyard quarterback that can write a play in the dirt, go out and run it, or it just ends up happening. And your receivers have played with Josh Allen long enough to know play's not over.
No, it's not.
You find a way to get open, Josh will find you. You stick your hand up, Josh will find you. And that is the biggest fear for anybody facing the Buffalo Bills, Steelers fans included, is Josh Allen is never out of a play. 3rd and 18, 3rd and 22, it doesn't matter. Like, that was the way Ben Roethlisberger played. It's like, if we've got a down, we've got a chance to make a play because his arm is so strong. Right. He can hit those intermediate to deep passes accurately, quickly. So, like, most quarterbacks got to get that ball out in 3 seconds. If Josh is getting that ball out in 3 seconds, he's throwing that ball 30 yards, where other quarterbacks are throwing it 12.
It's funny because it's a roller coaster ride, right? And that's what most quarterbacks, especially this year. It's kind of funny. The quarterback play this year has been kind of weird, but nonetheless, I would say the person that I'm most scared of, and I'm gonna be honest, and I said this on our show, it's Mike Tomlin. And that's not a disrespect to any of the Steelers, players. It's just he's such a great coach in these spots. Like, this is a Tomlin spot if I've ever known it, right? Like, if you're a betting man, it's just like, oh goodness, like, why did they have to be 10? Like, why did they have to, go 10 points? Because he's like, I know he's gonna get in there and I know he's gonna say something, and they're gonna be like, right, man, I'm gonna run through a wall for this guy. Like, it's that type of game.
And this year too, Preach, this is probably the best coaching year I've ever seen out of Mike Tomlin. And we can go back to the year where we lost Ben Roethlisberger. We were rotating between Duck. We were rotating between Rudolph. And almost made the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's never been eliminated from the playoffs before the last week of the season in his career. Right. That's insane.
It
He's
is.
always been in the playoffs before the last week of the season. Never been eliminated prior to the last week of the season. That is something to say with the way that we have just rebuilt our team. Even during this 3-year rebuild, I just shot I'm on SteelerNation.com over on the football forum. I just put out a tweet today or a thread, or I'm responding to a thread about Tomlin and what I think of Tomlin. And 3 years ago, our only starters that are still starters now, Deontay Johnson on offense is it. That's it on offense.
Sheesh.
On defense, TJ Watt, who's hurt this game.
Right.
Cam Hayward, who's been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Minka Fitzpatrick. That's it. We had some cusp starters 3 years ago. Naj was a rookie. Highsmith was just starting to start then too. That's it. 5 players. He's rebuilt this entire team and still winning. And from the reason why I love this season so much, we won 6 games in the first 10 of the year, coming back from the jaws of defeat 5 of those times with Kenny Pickett doing a great job of finding a way to win in the fourth quarter, a la Tim Tebow, if you ever watched him in his run with the Denver Broncos. It was a phenomenal run. That run, I was the only Steeler fan not surprised that we lost to him in the playoffs. I watched this whole season. But this year, it was still doing it a tough way with an offensive coordinator that was just putting you in a position to fail, and Kenny Pickett finding a way to win. Then when Kenny Pickett goes down, we fire our offensive coordinator. We're now on a reset. We had our best offensive production the day after we fired our coordinator in 3 years. Lost a couple games with Trubisky, then said, okay, it's time to go with Rudolph. And then we've done nothing but win with Rudolph. Then we had a healthy Kenny Pickett, our franchise quarterback, our rookie quarterback from 2 years ago. Tomlin said, I'm sorry, Kenny, you're still the starter moving forward, but this year is Mason Rudolph's team. We got to the playoffs because of Mason Rudolph. We're going to continue to play because of Mason Rudolph. So all of the coaching throughout this entire season, especially if they find a way to win in Buffalo, is by far Mike Tomlin's best coaching year.
Interesting. I honestly cannot wait for this game because it's so much that kind of rides, for both franchises, right? You know what I mean?
It's not going to be a blowout either, too. Like,
it's
both
definitely
teams want to win. Both teams are storied franchises, great defenses, great running game. It's going to be a tough, tight game. Probably turnovers is going to determine it.
Absolutely. And with that being said, I think we can get into the score. We're going to get to our score predictions. I said this is really going to be a long show, but we definitely appreciate everybody in the comments. You've been amazing. Continue to like, share, rate, and review, subscribe. Do that really because I want everybody to watch the playback. It's going to be a lot of people to see this. But before we do that, we do have our contest going on. We have our contest going on. You can win an Overdue Bills hoodie. And the contest is up right now. All you have to do is predict the score of the game. Y'all know it. Sweet. And the tie.
My prediction stand too, because I can take an Overdue Bills hoodie.
Absolutely. No, Striker, you will 1,000% get an Overdue Bills hoodie. We're gonna send you an old one and a new one. We got some new designs. So,
love you guys, man. You know that. Know that. Me and the Overdue Bills, man.
Absolutely.
Love you guys.
Mike, I see y'all in the comments. Matt, y'all can get on that. But let me say this: the tiebreakers to the contest is predict Josh Allen's passing yards.
Okay.
It's a little weather. Okay. Or if that predict Stephon Diggs receiving yards. Okay. So that's the second tiebreaker. So if you can, it's on our platforms, Overdue Bills Pod. So go in there into the contest. So Striker, predict the score.
I think the weather is going to be more score predictive than anybody would have thought possible. Like in a good game, we both have a shot at 30s. This type of weather, we'll both have like a chance to get to the 20s, in my opinion. Okay. It's going to come down to ball control offense, which generally lessens the amount of possessions in a game, which means you can't score as many points.
Right.
If it's a 50-mile-an-hour gust, look out if we have to kick field goals anywhere outside of the 20-yard line. I mean, it's going to be difficult to even kick in those conditions.
Right.
So, if I'm going to go, spot on what I think is going to happen, tight game, maybe a big punt return by Calvin Austin III, like my boy Zach and mentioned a little earlier as a possible X factor on special teams. A guy we lost for a season because he was injured in his rookie year, kind of got him redshirted. He's back. He's a great punt returner for us now. Like your punt returner did last week against Miami.
Sorry,
Holy
that was huge.
crap.
Yeah,
that set the tone and made it your game. That's, something like that I could see possibly happening, or a fumble interception return. But I think it's going to be a tight game. Put your money down for it not being a 10-point game. I do not see this being a 10-point game. And, I've honestly said, when I thought your team was going to win, I said flat out, Bills are going to win. I feel really good about my team's chances this week. I really do. And I'm going to say it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tight game. If I've got to put a score on it, 2017 Steelers over the Bills with a last-second field goal by Boswell, who should have made the Pro Bowl, but unfortunately, Justin Tucker has a better name than him, even though his stats were better than Tucker's this year. I'm going with my guy Boz to kick when it counts and get the Steelers to playing in Baltimore the following week.
I actually love it. Shout out to everybody in the comments giving me your score predictions, really, because I like when both fan bases, believe in their team. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's see, let the chips fall in May. And for me, I do see it's a close game, and I said it on the show, and I think I'm gonna stay with my score. I said 24-18.
Yeah. I can see that happening too.
The win is a little rough, so field goals may be iffy, but I think we might even see like a safety this game. Like you can get, seriously, like you get.
I can see that too. I can.
And I think we're gonna see like a safety this game somehow or another. We can get that because it's just gonna be a weird game with the weather, punting, and so on and so forth. But I do see Bills 24-18. I think Josh Allen is going to overcome some things. I think we're gonna go for it on a couple fourth downs, and he's gonna make some big plays. Like he's gonna do Josh Allen things.
You guys are built for fourth down. Absolutely built for fourth down. Yep.
And what we got the new tush push. Josh, he's the
elevation, the throw.
Yeah. It's like
that was great. I was like, oh man, that's a new wrinkle. That's a new wrinkle. I like that.
if we can kind of get that down back, then I see us having success. But any last thoughts on the game?
I mean, hell, I could see this game being like, I would say like this has the potential to be like a 9-6 game. But if the weather's that bad, I don't see us scoring that much. So maybe like even a 10-7 game happening, but like I'll stick with my first one. Any of that stuff can happen when the weather gets that bad. It drops the potential to be able to score. The weather and God is the ultimate factor.
Absolutely.
to score. But I just love the fact that we have two great teams built for the run, built to control the clock, built for defense. And that's why this matchup, I believe, is probably going to be the toughest matchup for the Bills in all of the playoffs if they advance. I am dead serious. Mm-hmm. This is a very tough game for the Bills to play in the first round. But if you get past it, I think you've got a shot. I think you've got a shot of definitely making the AFC Championship game, because you're not going to be playing the highest seeded, or actually you will play the next. Yeah, because I fully expect Cleveland to upset Houston. Cleveland's going to be going to be an upset. But if the Steelers win, they're going to Baltimore, and they're going to knock off Baltimore. But you guys don't have to play Baltimore in the next round. If Cleveland goes and plays Baltimore in the next round, they're probably going to beat them.
Wow.
Cleveland's playing some phenomenal ball right now. That's a tough team. That's another team you do not want to see in the playoffs. But you guys have a great team as well. I fear more like the matchups for Cleveland against Baltimore, Cleveland against Kansas City. At least Buffalo, I know, could match up against any other team in the playoffs. So if they get past the Steelers, I'm not saying it's smooth sailing, but I'm saying it might be another chance to root for you guys going long in the playoffs.
Can't wait to the game. I want to say this. Definitely Overdue Bills fan. We appreciate you, Striker, man. Like I said earlier, he comes through all the time. When we first started our pod and we were trying to get guests, and it wasn't necessarily the easiest because we're just starting out. Right. But we, reached out to him, and he delivered every single time. He delivers. He's always on point, always great information. And, we definitely appreciate that here on the Overdue Bills pod. So we're definitely going to send him some merch. And shout out to everybody in the comments. We appreciate y'all for being here. And listen, if you just got here, go back and watch. We laid out some amazing things. Some people to watch on the Steelers. What's the Nick Herbin?
Nick
How's like
Herbig. We got 2 Herbigs on the team. We got a free agent, Nate Herbig, who is our backup interior offensive lineman that we got from the Eagles last year. And we picked up his brother, Nick, in the draft in the 4th round from Wisconsin Badger, as well as TJ Watt being a Wisconsin Badger.
Right.
Look out for Nick Herbig this weekend.
Listen, y'all heard it first.
Right.
Said
and
he's
follow me, too, just before
Absolutely.
we go out. At Steeler Nation Striker. I'm online on the tweets, on the Tickety Talks, on the Instagrams. So you can follow me on those. But honestly, go to SteelerNation.com. That's where all the Steeler Nation news is. We've got an excellent football forum. We've got plenty of fans from around the league. So if you want to come over and just talk for the week, see what the Steeler fans are thinking about, click on SteelerNation.com. Click on that forum button. It's free to join. Just have some, we are very open to all people as long as you're not like, your team sucks. Yeah. You're dumb. As long as you're not like that. Like, we've been very cool with Green Bay fans, even cool with some Ravens fans coming over on our site. Oh. And they're our rival. Like, if you can talk football, make good arguments for your team, have a good time with it, have fun with it, you will have a great time at SteelerNation.com in the football forum as well. And I post as Striker over there as well, so I'll be able to chime in as well.
Please, man, please, sir, go do that. Definitely appreciate that. We definitely want to support you. And listen, we thank everybody for being on 1 o'clock Sunday. Be there or be square. All right. Thank you.